Hey, what's up, everyone? Grant Cohn here. Larry Kruger might be joining me in a little bit. I'm starting now. I can't go too long today, but I wanted to strike while the iron's hot and talk about this practice. We're talk about the quarterbacks. I know it's quarterback central, but I had a former coach call me yesterday, email me yesterday, and said, this quarterback competition, this backup quarterback competition, it's a distraction. And Kyle Shanahan is distracting you on purpose with it. You guys in the beat core are like falling for it. You're doing what he wants you to do, which is focus on backup quarterbacks. And you're missing the big story of the offseason for the 49ers. And I said, what do you mean, coach? What's the story? He says, Nick Bosa, not there. And this was yesterday. I was like, they're probably going to extend his contract tonight. He'll probably be there for the first day of pads. And the coach was like, you sure? You sure about that? And I was wrong. I don't know why I assumed that. And so now I think this is what we need to start. We need to talk about this every day. Nick Bosa is not with the 49ers. He's not showing up to camp. He doesn't seem close to coming back. John Lynch has obviously said they're going to sign him eventually. But I asked John Lynch, like, would you like him here so he could actually get into football shape and give himself a better chance to not get injured? It's a guy who's had some serious injuries in his career. And Lynch said, ideally we'd like him to have at least 3 weeks before the season to like be in practice and stuff. So they're already like bargaining with this man. 3 weeks? I don't know. So the way I look at it is, the question is, why isn't Nick Bosa here? Are the Niners lowballing him? I don't think so. Here's my best interpretation. I think the Niners have given Nick Bosa probably a very good offer. Probably a great offer. They're probably have already offered him what he's going to accept eventually. Is Nick Bosa waiting for the Niners to up their offer? Maybe, but probably that's not the main reason he's not there. I think the main reason he's not with the 49ers right now is that he probably doesn't want to be in training camp. Simple as that. Probably doesn't want to do it. And doesn't have to, and so he's not. He knows that the Niners will pay him back for all these fines pretty soon. So who cares? He's also rich already. He comes from a rich household. He's not sweating the money. He'll get the money back. He's going to get the big contract one way or another. Why sign the contract now? What's the rush? Stay at home in Florida. Keep doing that weightlifting routine that is super secret that no other players are allowed to see or participate in. It's just you and your brother and your dad. Keep doing that because that works for you. Don't come here. You're not a leader. You don't have anything to say. You show up, you play football, you're good. I think this is not about the 49ers. I think if we're up to the 49ers, he would be on the field today. I think they were expecting him to be there. Here's the way I looked at it. They had a 9:15 press conference scheduled for John Lynch today. And this was on the thing all week. And as soon as I saw a 9:15 Monday, first day of pads, I'm thinking, oh, they're expecting Bosa to be signed, and he's going to be there. They're going to have a whole coronation. Let's kick off the first day of pads with Nick Bosa here in his extension with his dad. And all. Didn't happen. So yesterday afternoon, they changed the schedule, pushed John Lynch back to 9:45. Practice starts at 10:15. So instead of having an hour to talk about how Nick Bosa is going to be here forever, we had a half hour for John Lynch to explain why Nick Bosa isn't here yet. That's what I saw. They were expecting Bosa to be here. I'm sure they gave him the offer that is going to get it done. And Bosa probably unexpectedly said, no, not at this time. I don't want to sign it yet. So we'll sign it eventually. But my interpretation is that he just doesn't want to be in training camp. You know why? Because no one wants to be in training camp. It sucks. It's exhausting. It's a grind. You have to be out there from Bosa's perspective with a bunch of people who aren't as good as him that could get him hurt. Guys trying harder than him, clumsier than him, stepping on his feet, pulling his arms. Weird things happen in training camp. It's just another opportunity to get injured. No one's watching you. It's not fun. It's every day. I don't think he wants to be there. Which is too bad, though, because they're about to pay him like, $40 million a year to be a leader. But hey, maybe the fact that he's extending his offseason in Florida with his, dad and brother, Maybe that'll be good for Bosa because I notice he tends to taper off at the end of the year. His best football is September, October, November. December, January, he usually isn't as good, not as strong, doesn't have as much gas in the tank for whatever reason. I have no idea why, but I've noticed it. Like last year, he totally fell off the last 4, 5, 6 games of the season. So like whatever training regimen he has set up in Florida that's super private and secret doesn't quite get him through the full football season anymore. Maybe the full college football season. So now, maybe if he stays in Florida a little longer, an extra month, maybe his endurance will last an extra month. Just a thought. Maybe this is strategic on the side of the Bosa's. Maybe this is what we're going to get from him in the future. No more training camp for Nick. Just stay at home in the lab with his dad and his brother, and do his own training. See how it works. I mean, the one thing about training camp is that you get in football shape, which John Lynch talked about today. You have to build up a callus. Anyone can lift weights and run around, but that's not really football shape. Can you withstand the violence of it? And Bosa is a guy who's had 3 season-ending injuries in his career since high school. 2 torn ACLs and a torn ab muscle thing, core muscle thing. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I wrong? I think it's a Nick Bosa choice. My best guess. Let's see what happens. All right, hold on. All right, Trey Lance. So, I want to give Jesse Naylor credit. Jesse Naylor is upstairs watching this. No, I think he's like taking a shower. He said he was going to watch the show, but he just took a shower. He doesn't even watch. Doesn't care. Doesn't like me. But he's staying here for a week. And we were outside yesterday, and I told him that Lynch was going to talk. And he was like, I got a question for you. Here's what I would ask John Lynch. John, you've praised Trey Lance's character, and work ethic, and professionalism ad nauseum. We've heard that. What about Trey Lance as a football player? How has he improved as a football player this offseason? Don't praise his character. So I thought that was a great question. And if you ask Kyle Shanahan that question, he'd probably find a way to praise Trey Lance's character. But John Lynch, to his credit, gave a real answer. And here's what he said. He said, look, he went right to the Jeff Christensen thing, which Kyle Shanahan minimized. It's like, look, we've all seen it. We're all impressed by it. And what's so important about what he did with Jeff Christensen, he took the initiative. This was his idea. And I thought that was interesting. But the fact that the Niners didn't recommend Jeff Christensen, I thought was a negative. Like, you guys should have been in charge of this. But from his perspective, Trey needed to take initiative. He needed to pick a quarterback coach and stick to him. I don't know why. Like, is Trey... It almost makes me feel like he was drafted 3rd overall, all those picks given up to get him, and it feels like Lynch is saying that he had a little bit of or implying that Lance had like an entitlement. Like, hey, it's not my team, but it's going to be my team eventually, inevitably. And there's nothing I really have to do. Like, the 3 draft picks mandate that I'm going to get an opportunity, so it doesn't matter what I do in practice or whatever, or meetings or whatever, outside the building, making it rain, making it flurry, making it thunder, doesn't matter. It's my team eventually. That's sort of what he's implying, right? Like, he took the initiative. Okay, so maybe Trey has finally gotten over that attitude that it's eventually going to be, because it's not anymore, right? Now it's Brock's team. And now he needs to take the bull by the horns and take control of his life. And that's what he did. Now, Lynch said that in the past, Lance was working with multiple throwing coaches, almost like it was Lance's choice. I felt like Lance was working with his own throwing coaches, and then there were coaches that the Niners recommended. So maybe that was the problem. Now, maybe I think what's cool is that maybe Lance said, Niners, John, Kyle, I don't want to work with your throwing coaches anymore. I don't trust them. I'm getting my own guy. That's maturity. That's something Brock Purdy would do. Remember, Brock Purdy got the second opinion. I think he took the initiative to get the second opinion. So Trey took the initiative to get his own throwing coach that was not recommended by the 49ers. And then Lynch went on to say, like, he's not getting as many opportunities, but he has to make the most of them. Purdy did last year. And if he makes the most of his opportunities, he'll get more. That's what Lynch said. And what's interesting is Lance went out today and went 9 of 10 on the practice field. So, okay, you said if he plays well, he'll get more opportunities, because that's what happened to Brandon Allen, right? Brandon Allen wasn't supposed to get reps, but he apparently played well in OTAs, and now he's getting as many reps as, well, he's getting a ton of reps. So maybe now that Lance is improving, he'll take some of those reps from Brandon Allen. I think that's fair is fair. So I think that was a very thoughtful answer from John Lynch. He's taking the initiative. Here's one example. Makes you wonder what Lynch thought of him the last 2 years. Like, is this guy entitled? You want a player with a chip on his shoulder, right? Frank Gore had a chip on his shoulder. No one believes in me. Well, that wasn't Trey, right? When you trade up to number 3, you spend 3 years with the first round picks, and it's like everyone believes. It's the opposite. Everyone believes in me. I have to prove them right. Not like no one believes in me. I got to prove them wrong. So now that's where Trey Lance is. He's in the no one believes in me phase. I got to prove him wrong. And he's picking his own quarterback coach, and he went 9 of 10 in practice today. I empathize with the situation Trey Lance is in, because he didn't choose to be on this team, and he's gotten some really mixed messages from an organization that recruited him. But that still doesn't excuse his tone and attitude at his previous press conference. It wasn't hostile. It was just not the best version of him. And he always has to put the best version of him out there no matter what. I don't care that you're 23. I don't care that they're giving you mixed messages. You got to hold yourself to the same standard that Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and all these young quarterbacks do, because that's who you're getting compared to. In the last couple of days, he has. He's been great. He's been everything you'd want him to be. So I think that's huge for Trey Lance, and I think it's really cool that John Lynch gave him that praise, because the way I look at it is, I don't think John Lynch has ever particularly liked Trey Lance. I mean, maybe likes him as a guy, but I don't think he's ever really wanted him on the team. He was a big Jimmy Garoppolo guy. He's big into Brock Purdy. So this felt genuine. Felt like a guy who was like, I worked really hard. I never felt like anything was handed to me. Maybe it's our fault that we handed something to Trey, but we're not handing anything to him anymore. We're not even giving him second team reps. Like, he has to compete and earn everything now. And to his credit, he is. So I'd like to see the Niners give him some positive reinforcement, in the sense like, you've taken him down 8 pegs. You've really humbled him. He's responding. He's not hanging his head. He went 9 for 10 today. Give him some positive reinforcement, man. Don't write him off. Because it's not like Brock Purdy's that freaking great. No offense. It's not like Brock Purdy's super proven. You still don't know who the best quarterback on the roster is, or who's going to be, which quarterback on your roster is going to have the best career. You don't know that. Just because Brock Purdy had a good 8 games last year doesn't mean he's going to have a better career than Trey. Stay open-minded. All right, let's take some super chats. CB Niner says, will Brock Purdy practice on Saturday, or is that a day off? Trying to understand if player off days count as the off day in the 2-on-1 off plan. Let's get Larry in here and see what he has to say. Larry, how you doing?
What's going on, man? Sorry.
How you doing, man?
Here.
Hot day down there.
Hot day.
Neither of us. Yep. You doing all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we just talked about Lance and what John Lynch said about him. Basically, I asked, what do you like about him other than his professionalism? And he said he liked that he took the initiative with Christensen, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he that's like the first like real kind of compliment that he's gotten. I thought he looked really good today, to be honest. I think he's looked good the last 2 days. He had a rough one on Friday, then they had the off day Saturday. To me, Monday was the biggest practice because he really bounced back from what to me looked like a lack of confidence on Friday. But today he was really strong. I mean, he had a throw to Conley that was great. He had a throw to Danny Gray that you could hear a mile away. He just popped it right on the pads. He threw 8? I think I looked at my percentages. I think it was like roughly 80%. He looked really good. So, the question is just, are the Niners Are they just going to get rid of Brandon Allen and go with their three guys? And then is it going to be, is Trey going to, I don't know how the whole thing's going to shake out, but no doubt that they got three quarterbacks who all have starter potential. No question.
Yeah, I think what I liked about Lance in this practice was, obviously we're always going to talk about his mechanics and accuracy, but I think decisiveness is an issue for him too. Sometimes he gets in the pocket and he just hesitates. And it's like, come on, Jimmy Garoppolo, like see it and rip it. What are you waiting for? Sam Darnold's over there seeing it and ripping it last few days. Purdy has in the past as well. And I felt like today Lance did, on that throw to Danny Gray, hit his back foot, ripped it. And he did that the rest of the day. Like, you got it. This is a timing-based offense. You have to do that. And he did today. That was encouraging.
What I would like to know from Trey is if they're going to start, if by chance, despite how good he looks, they're going to make him QB3 and he is going to sit behind Brock and Sam at the beginning of the year. Does he prefer to be elsewhere? Does he prefer to be here? Because if he prefers to be here, they can afford it. It's only a $15 million quarterback room. They can afford it for this year. That probably is the route. Based on what I've seen, that's probably the route I would go. That's a route I would.
But after a day like today, I'm not thinking he's going to be third string, and that's pretty far down the line. If he keeps trending this direction, he won't be third string. CB9er says, will Brock Purdy practice on Saturday? Is that a day off? Saturday? So we got Wednesday's a day off, Thursday, Friday. No, he'll practice on Saturday. Practice on Saturday? Yes.
It's what, 3 on 1 off? Is that what that's the schedule he's on?
Yeah, and he won't practice on Thursday, but he'll practice on Saturday.
Yeah, he'll practice. Somebody asked me yesterday about Thursday. He's not going to go Thursday probably. So it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off Monday.
Niner by Nature 88 says John from Haberman thinks Darnold will be QB2U. I think you can't. I think Kyle's going to make up his mind, doesn't know who, and he's not going to make that decision for another month. I think what happens in these practices, joint practices, and preseason games matter. And it's not going to be based on 5 days. My call.
It's going to be based on, I think, just what these preseason games look like and points. Do you produce points? Somebody came out today and said Purdy looked terrible. I saw it on Twitter. But he definitely started bad. He had, was he 0 for 3? And then from that point on, he was real high percentage. He had a ball knocked out of his hand. I guess I ruled that I would call that a fumble. He had the pick to Greenlaw. So,
well, we're going to talk at length about Purdy in a minute. That's the next topic.
Yeah.
Niners Daddy says, QC, thanks for the pep talk for Lance. He took it to heart, and ever since he has been on a tear. Gotta love how he responds to adversity on a bad day. Yeah, I think calling him Mike McGlinchey really lit a fire under his ass. So I can do that from now on. Trey, if I see that hangdog look again, I'm calling you Big Mike, and I think that's all you need to hear. No one wants to be compared to Mike McGlinchey. Sorry, Mike. But it worked. Mooey says, a lot has to happen, but it's clear if Lance emerges as the guy, Lynch has to go. Trey Lance is a threat to his guy and his plan vice versa. I don't know about that. I felt like John embraced Lance today. I don't know that he has to go. I like John Lynch.
Yeah, I mean, John Lynch, come on, John.
I like John Lynch.
That's just ridiculous talk. John Lynch isn't going anywhere. Shanahan's not going anywhere. You got to remember, John Lynch was the general manager that drafted Trey Lance, whether it was his idea or not, whether you feel like he fully supports him or not.
He sounded open-minded today. Maybe skeptical, but open-minded. Solo Ty says Lapdance Lance in full effect, 9 out of 10.
I thought he sounded optimistic about Lance. In fact, he kind of was like, well, he's not only improving, he's taking it to the field. So
he's maturing, he's improving, and it's translating. I mean, that's much more specific than anything Kyle said about him this offseason.
And he said,
and we all think Kyle's his advocate.
And John also said that, that he got with a coach that he gelled with. He streamlined his release. He streamlined, improved his mechanics, and we're seeing the results. He's more accurate. He's throwing the ball better. That's what he said.
Yeah. T&K Hunting Gear says, I like Trey, but can we stop acting like the Niners owe him? He's an employee. They are the employer. They don't owe him anything but the money guaranteed in his contract. Okay. They also said they want to give him opportunities. They want to reward him for doing the right thing. He got 9 throws a day and completed 10. You get 10 throws, and he completed 9 or 8, whatever it was. He had a pretty freaking good day. I mean, I don't think today's the day that you have to say they got to tamper it down.
He was 8 of 10 or 9 of 11 from what I can
Whatever
tell.
you want to say. I didn't know what to call that throwaway because they moved the ball back. So was it intentional grounding? Was it a sack? Remember what I'm talking about? And they moved the ball.
Yeah, I thought it was.
What was that?
Sack. I thought it
was a sack.
Sack.
I thought it was a sack. Jo says, "What's up, Grant? I don't know about you, but it's very weird how grown men still call Brock Purdy BCB. Chris Hansen has to investigate these weirdos. You will never, ever hear me calling him BCB. Kirabel Tedesi says Kyle should at least give Trey Lance some first-team reps for the defense to practice against dual-threat quarterbacks. Well, I mean, he did, what was it, yesterday? And he will again on Thursday. So I'm with you on that. They haven't run one zone read in the offense.
I was going to say,
training camp.
Where's
Not
the read
one.
option? Yeah, where's the read option? It's like they've eliminated it from their offense.
It's not there. Well, maybe they'll install it in a week or so. Bang Bang 415 says, we talking about practice, man. All we got another month of it, baby. Carlos says, wait for Mayoko and Lombardi to start pumping up Trey soon to try to elevate his trade value. Darnold signed early with the Niners for a reason. I love that, as if like Lombardi and Mayoko are on the team and are like trying to, they don't care. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't think they care. Sean says, so Larry, you really standing 10 toes down on Brock Purdy being top 14, hottest of hot takes?
I mean, 24 is where whatchamacallit had him, Sando. I think Brock Purdy is probably 12 to 15 in that range. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. City Bert says dark horse to make the 53. Deshaun Jameson.
No doubt. I guaranteed it.
Like Amber, you better watch out. Amber.
Yeah. Jameson's real. Jameson is real. No question. He breaks on the ball. We even seen him do what he really does best, which is he's a dynamic return man. I mean, think about that. He's made plays on the ball as a corner. He's a dynamic returner. We haven't seen it yet. Wait until he takes one back and, has a 50-yard return. Then people will really be all over him.
Okay, let's talk about, nope, not that. Hold on, let's talk about Brock Purdy. So, Brock Purdy. Here, let me say what I saw from Brock Purdy, and then you say what you saw.
Okay.
In the macro sense, what Brock Purdy's doing is all good, right? He's ahead of schedule. He's practicing. He's getting preparation that we didn't expect. And theoretically, he's giving himself an opportunity to like knock the rust off and be ready for week 1. In the micro, he threw a pick today. It was his second pick in 3 days. And when he wasn't throwing over the middle or short, he had some issues. It was 3 throws. Maybe I'm making too big of a deal of him. But the first out to George Kittle, he just didn't have enough on it. It was a bad throw. They went right back to that pattern. And he did have enough on it, but he didn't see Dre Greenlaw dropping in coverage. Happens. So that was a mistake. And then he had Ayuk deep down the left sideline for what I thought should have been a touchdown. Hung it up in the air, still got the pass interference, still a spot foul, big play. Those are 3 things where I'm wondering, like, man, is that the arm? Are you rusty? Do you not have the arm strength you had? Or is that how you've always been? Those are my 3 things. Other than that, and then he fumbled on the last play, but that should never happen in practice. Cleveland Farrell, you're fired.
Wow.
You're fired.
Yeah.
Clear out your locker. Anyway, and I'm not saying like, well, that proves anything. Those are just me saying like, those are misgivings I had from his performance. So what'd you say?
I don't think he's ever been an impressive thrower of the football. It's all about Brock Purdy. The people who are going to argue for Brock Purdy are arguing about the results. Yeah. And he, at the end
still 10 to 14. Touchdown, pick.
In a practice where he didn't throw the ball particularly well, he still completed 80% of his passes.
Sure.
The pick was the worst throw, I thought, because he just floated it. And
it reminded me of the pick he threw against the Raiders. It's he's a little bit different, but just like the trajectory, the distance. Anyway,
it hung.
It
hung in the air. It was not. It wasn't a bullet pass. It was a looping pass.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a bad throw for sure. I thought the ball down the sideline that you got the PI call was a bad pass. That hung too.
Yeah, it hung.
So he had a couple of passes that hung that were unimpressive for sure.
That was it though. That was pretty much it.
The rest of the stuff he was on time with and pretty accurate. But he's
I would agree.
his whether you like him or don't like him, nobody's going to go out and watch him and be like, oh, look at this guy throw the football.
That's true. That's
not where his effect. You
and I
look
think
up and say, look
in
at the results.
comparison to Darnold and Lance, like those two guys had some throws like that today, and they can be like that. So maybe in comparison to those two, Purdy seemed like, I don't know, the guy who had the most diversity today.
He doesn't throw the ball as well as them.
He also had to face the number one team defense. He also had to face the number one team defense, and that defense is legit. And they're going to pick you off like every freaking day, even if you're really good. Ask Trey or Jimmy. Like that happens.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners really have a good defense. The defense, it's funny. The defense has been ahead of the offense until what, the last 2 days, and then suddenly the defense has given up 80% completion percentages.
Steve Wilkes, we're looking at you. Steve Wilkes, what's going on? Seeing a lot of blitzing in practice. Maybe it'll work in games, but so far it's leading to a lot of completions. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It's making some of the defenders look good at times. I thought Marcelino looked good. He got home on a sack today. But there's no question that I think they've got three viable quarterbacks, and for three guys that could start and win. I think they could win with all three quarterbacks. Based on what I've seen. But I mean, Darnold,
regular season games for sure.
Darnold's hit track record tells me that there's inconsistency around the bend for him. So I got to see him be consistent. Trey's touch, ability to throw a touch and timing is his challenge. I think he can process and he can rip it. It's just a matter of touch and timing. And for Brock, it's always going to be about, is his arm strength enough? And that's why, to me, that's the big factor, not necessarily his completion percentage. Can he make all the throws? Back to the dink and dunk idea. Is this guy, can he make all the throws post-surgery?
Fair.
He made enough throws pre-surgery, but it was a small sample size.
True. I felt like today was a bit of a dink and dunk day for Brock, but again, sue him. He's ahead of schedule. With Trey, to Lynch's point, the stuff he worked on with Christensen is starting to translate to the field. I think we saw that today. I mean, he hit throws over the middle that we would see him miss. Like Lance, when he misses, a lot of time he misses high for whatever reason. Today, I felt like his ball placement was excellent. It was chest level. When he hit Danny Gray, it was in the chest. When he hit Chris Conley on the deep out, it was in the chest. Like, he was just on point today. I was very impressed. And he doesn't always look like that. But if that's the new him, then that's great.
If he's making throws like outs, deep cuts, deep balls, anything that doesn't involve slowing down, if he's throwing screen passes or stuff where he's got to show touch over a linebacker, he struggles with that throw. But he doesn't struggle with any of the other throws. Any of the deep cuts, any of the post pattern, the go route, anything where he can throw the ball, really reach back and throw it, he looks really good. It's when he's got to, he's got the one they missed the other day to Debo, where Debo's right there in the flat. It's got to be a layup, got to be caught, and Debo didn't even get a finger on it. That's his final hurdle. Can he, if he can make that throw with precision, touch, and timing, I think he's there, right? What throw can he make?
Yeah, and it's like what's encouraging about it today is I felt like today he would have hit that throw. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe he's physically incapable, but I felt like today he was just locked in, and I could feel it early on. Like watching him in individual, he wasn't. I feel like yesterday in individual, every single throw was high. Every single time a ball boy caught the ball, it was like jumping up and reaching. It's like, that's terrible. Bring it down, Trey. And I think today he had it locked in, and I don't know, like if he can, how many times did John Lynch say stack days today? If he can stack days with this, if that's what he can do from now on,
well, there's
very
been
encouraged with Trey Lance.
To me, the most important part of camp for Trey so far is the part that most of the media walked off the field and didn't even watch. It was after practice on Friday, after he missed the throw to Debo. He stayed after the practice as all the media ran into the room.
Right.
He stayed after the practice and threw that same pass that he missed like 9 times in a row. And
Yeah.
that's why I believe he's going to get there, because he's going to work to eliminate his mistakes. Because it means something to him. He's not just going to keep making the same mistake. Was it a layup throw? Does he have to make it? Yeah. But guess what he did after practice? He made that throw 9 times in a row because he knows that's the mistake that he's got to overcome. And that's why I feel good about the kid.
Yeah, and like when Brock Purdy surprisingly got cleared for camp and he's like pushed so hard to come back, I'm not surprised because I think from Brock's perspective, he's got confidence. He knows he's good. But I think he also knows, to your point, that the Niners can win with any of these quarterbacks. They can win with Darnold. They can win with Lance. And if Brock's gone for a while and those guys have an extended, period with the starters, who knows what could happen? So Brock likes his spot. He likes playing with McCaffrey and Ayuk and Debo and Kittle. And he's not giving it up for anything. And so good for him. But if something happens and Lance has to play with this team and these players around him, I think he could do it. And I think I'm actually warming up to Darnold too. Like, I was so snarky about Darnold, but frankly, he's been pretty good the last couple of days as well. And I think with all these weapons, it's kind of tough for a quarterback to play. You have to really suck.
Darnold's
to not play
energized
well
by
here.
this situation.
Yeah.
So you're getting the best of Darnold, right? You're getting the best of Darnold because he's playing with urgency and energy and optimism.
He wants to be here.
Yeah, and I'm sure after shouldering the load in New York and maybe to a lesser degree in Carolina, he doesn't only have to feel like he's not shouldering the whole load. He now feels supported. He looks around. He's got all kinds of weapons. He looks around. He's got the number 1 defense.
Coach wants him. Compare him to Steve Young.
Exactly.
And then from Lance's perspective, he was probably pretty upset that this quarterback competition isn't what he wanted. But now that he's gotten over the disappointment and he's like, okay, I can go compete with Brock and Sam. I'm just as good as Brock and Sam. Let me go show it. And I feel like he's finally got the right mindset and he's finally putting his best foot forward. And we finally got a good quarterback competition. Finally.
And I think you're totally right as far as I think Brock, whether he's 100%, 95%, 90%, 85%, I think he's definitely over 75%. And
he's not 100.
Not 100.
Not 100.
But over 75%. And he understands that his window to establish himself as the starter is right now. And there's some urgency. So he's going to push through because he feels like this is the key to him being the starting quarterback of the 49ers. And now it's a matter of all these guys. It's at the end of the day, Grant, it's a really kind of funny deal. They really all have to show they can be consistent. Brock's got to show that he can be consistent, even though he might physically not be quite where he wants to be. Darnold's got to show that he can be consistent, despite the fact that his career has been, filled with injuries, turnovers, and inconsistent football and just spotty play. He's got to be consistent, and Trey's got to be consistent. And so they're all got to, they got 3 quarterbacks that have to be consistent that all have different issues that stand between them and being consistent. And then it's going to be riveting to see how the 49ers play their hand because they've got 3 guys. And you're right. I think they could probably win with all 3.
And also what's going to be interesting is like, what if Brock just isn't ready? Like, it's commendable what he's doing. Work hard, come back early, get your butt on the field. But what if he's just not ready? Despite the best of intentions, because it's a very serious injury. And what if Darnold is? What if Trey is? Like, what do they do? I feel like the next month is going to be very interesting. We can't predict it, and you got to let it play out.
Right. I mean, I think Brock's going to get the first go at it.
Of course.
He's going to have to show
thank you.
That he can't do it. And then and if he can't, then who's going to be second up? Who's going to be third up? That's about who's more consistent this summer between Trey and I'll tell you what I think is going to be maybe the key tilting point, at least in the next week or so, is how these guys do against the Raiders in the practices, against another team, against a defense that you're not scripted. They're doing they're defending you the way they think they want to defend you. They're trying to turn.
It's not a great defense.
Not a
Yeah.
great defense, but it's also not a familiar defense.
Mhm.
I think those practices are going to be really interesting. I think the preseason is going to be interesting, and it's going to come down to points and who moves the team better.
I also think the 49ers are trying their best to make this like a real, not like a fair competition, but something that is earned, not given. I feel like they've been giving things to, I feel like they think they've anointed quarterbacks. They anointed Jimmy. They anointed Trey. And Brock earned it. And I think they want, if anyone's going to take it from Brock, they got to earn it too. I think that's where they're at with the quarterback position. And maybe there's something to it.
They have to conduct a fair. It has to, you can't,
We're not giving you anything because of your draft status. We're not.
Right. Or
not.
Because you had a good year last year. They're
Right.
going to have to conduct a fair competition or their own players will push back.
And that's what's interesting about Brock. Like if he doesn't look like he's the best option in practice because he's rusty, coming off this injury, will the Niners react to that? Will they? But that's a hypothetical that'll play itself out in the next month.
They will if they lose games, or if he turn. I mean, let's be honest. He doesn't have a lot of arm strength to lose. If he's lost some arm strength and some accuracy, what's going to happen? He's going to turn the ball over, and they're going to wind up involved in close games and lose games. If they get involved in early games of the season and they're close and they lose them, then you know the way the NFL works.
But there's no shame in it. Like, there's no shame. If they were to bench Brock, you could always say, look, it was an ambitious timetable. He wasn't supposed to come back this early. He got a lot of good work. He's not quite ready. We'll come back to him. We're not done with Brock. He's not ready right now. Like, we're not benching him. He's not hurt. They could always do that. So I'm curious. And a day like today makes me wonder if that's where this is going. But at the same time, it's important to remember that it's July 31st. It's July 31st.
I think it's real simple, actually. Brock wasn't given anything last year. He got an opportunity and he took it.
Right.
Trey and Sam won't be given anything this year. They'll be given an opportunity, and whoever takes it and plays the best football, it's there. It's absolutely there. Seriously, even if Brock comes out and plays similarly to the way he's played, if Sam Darnold or Trey Lance come out and start throwing just rockets and leading the team up and down the field, and they're not turning it over, and the team's scoring points, and
that's right,
they can take the job away.
I remember I asked Brock the other day. I asked him, has Kyle Shanahan said that you're going to start week 1 barring a setback? And he said no. So he's getting all the first string reps, but he's still under the microscope. What he does in practice still matters. And if he goes out and plays like Brock Purdy, and he'd probably start week 1, but we got 6 weeks left. It's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah,
very
and it's day to day.
And you know what? Sam and Lance are coming. They're right on his heels.
And if you're in this camp that you think that Brock's the number 1 guy and the other 2 guys are not viable competitors, you're wrong.
That's not what we saw today. Like today was the first day where it felt like, okay, this is a real quarterback competition. Because at first I was like, this is a joke. Like all 3 of these guys are struggling. It's like, okay, not today. They're all actually in rhythm and confident right now. Well, except for Brock isn't in rhythm and confident yet, in my opinion, but we've seen him before.
I don't think Brock's arm is back, but Brock is doing things better today than he did at any point last year. For example, last year, the big criticism of Brock, even though he won every game that he started and finished, was that he escaped out the back door. And in the NFL, you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
And what was the number 1 criticism? This guy doesn't step up in the pocket. Well, today he did. Today he stepped up in the pocket. He got rushed. He stepped up in the pocket and made plays. So he's.
Now, I would like to see that in a real game where you can get smacked, but that's true. That's a nice thing to practice.
He did. He showed that today, and that's that. And so but ultimately, it's just going to come down to consistency and who can lead the team to the most consistently and produce first downs and points without making mistakes and turnovers. And that's really what defines Darnold and Lance to this point. Lance has had talent. He's been impressive throwing the football, but he misses some layups, and so he leaves points on the field. Darnold has been an impressive thrower at times of the football, but Darnold turns it over. And so then you wind up, you got 10 drives in a game.
True.
He turns it over. The last game I watched, he turned it over 4 times. So
what's cool about today is
points.
Darnold didn't turn it over today, and Lance hit some layups. Like his last throw of the day from Lance, 3rd and 1, he hits Ayuk on the shallow cross. It's a short. That's a throw that gave Lance problems in the past because that's a throw you can't throw hard. The shallow cross, right? It's like a wrist throw, and you really got to lead the guy. I mean, that's a throw Brock Purdy hits in his sleep. Lance hit it today. That's encouraging to me. Like, I know he can rip the 15-yard in cut for sure and the out, but like, what about the shallow cross? That was big. You could argue that was his best throw of the day, 3rd and 1. Doesn't mean he'll hit it tomorrow. Doesn't mean he'll hit it tomorrow, but he hit it today.
Right. And it'll be interesting to see how Kyle calls these games.
Yeah.
Because if Kyle gets Purdy in there and he's calling nothing but go patterns and deep balls and the ball's hanging, or then there'll be people saying, well, yeah, that's not Brock's game. If Lance is in there and he's calling all these, middle screens and the short game where your footwork is then suddenly, and then he's inconsistent. There'll be people going, well, wait a second, you're not complimenting your quarterback. So that's going to be another wrinkle to this thing. Kyle will be scrutinized for what kinds of plays he calls for these quarterbacks.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be doing the scrutinizing because I'm such a big Kyle Shanahan fan. Citybird says, have you listened to Jordan Rodriguez? Play callers about Shanahan coaching Tree, if yes, thoughts. Not the whole thing.
I haven't seen it.
I felt it was, no. I mean, it was interesting, but at the same time, like, I don't want to, I already know. Ryan and Jennifer Wood says, stop fighting it. If you're a fan, once you're faithful, you're forever faithful. Yeah, but I'm not a fan. I'm not fighting. All eyes on K. Davis or Poe, who's on wide receiver. But I haven't noticed Kalia Davis. What number is he?
Haven't seen 93.
I haven't seen him.
Haven't seen him.
Is
haven't
he out there?
Poe. Yeah, I mean, he's been out there, but I got to see. I mean, Kalia Davis has got great movement ability. It's got to translate to the field. He's got to win one-on-ones. He's got to make product. He's got to play. He's got to be productive. Poe's in a really packed. They got a lot of options at guard in the interior. Lots of options. And as far as the back end of the wide receiver core, I think we're seeing guys start to emerge. And all 3 of them, it's a good battle. It's today. Ronnie Bell, suddenly showed up. He put the pads on. He had 2 or 3 really good catches. A couple from Darnold. You had Tay Martin the last couple of days making some decent catches, and Danny Gray, and you had her Lynch today in the, before practice. Talk about Danny Gray, and I think if you're one of these people that think that Danny Gray is, Danny Gray hasn't done anything. There's a value to Danny Gray beyond the catches. He is a space creator for the play caller. So if you're one of these guys that has your 53 and Danny Gray ain't on it, you better realize that he is here he can make plays, but he's also here to create space and make teams defend the Niners honestly. So
he just needs to catch the ball.
That gives him an advantage.
He needs to catch the ball. Otherwise, he won't be creating space, playing nothing. But today he caught the ball because it seems like he's a good route runner. He is, like, the curl he ran today, the slant, the dig he ran today, both really nice. It's just when it's time to catch the ball, it's this every time. It's like,
yeah, he's stronger than he was last year.
Sure,
but he's another guy.
All good things.
Produce. I like him.
Catches it with his chest.
Yeah, he's a body catcher.
He's big time. And I know Emmanuel Sanders was, and they went to the same school, but this dude ain't Emmanuel Sanders. And man, you might want to trust your hands. Trust him. What did they ever do to you? Why don't you like your hands? They work. I saw him. Sorry, that's a little too personal. Bryson VFX says, who looks more ready to play, Trey or Brock? I mean, personally, Brock looks the least ready, but the season doesn't start for 6 weeks, and that should be expected since he's practiced 3 times this offseason. To me.
We need it. The sample size is too small.
You don't have to be ready today.
I got to see. I mean, I couldn't say that based on 3 days. I'd have to see at least 6 to 10 days. Give me 10 days.
I'm just saying Brock doesn't look ready to me, but I don't know that Trey or Darnold are either. But you don't have to be ready in July. Grant Area, it's not. That's no one calls it that. T&K Hunting Gear says 80% completion rate after arm surgery against arguably the best defense in the NFL on the first day with pads. I feel like that's pretty impressive. Yeah, it is. I mean, he was sacked 3 times. He threw a pick. He fumbled. Like, Here's the way I put it. If Trey Lance did what Purdy did today, a lot of people would say Lance sucked. So I think a lot of this is like in the eye of the beholder, and I'm trying my best to be down the middle. I ripped Lance the other day. I'm saying this wasn't a great practice for Purdy, but at the same time, big picture, I understand why you could say it's a positive step. That seems to be what Kyle's saying too. Big pick. Let's look big picture with Purdy.
I would say all three quarterbacks, when you factor in this is the number one defense in the NFL, I think all three quarterbacks were very impressive today.
All right, let's go through. Let's be fair. Let's go through every single throw from Purdy today. First one, he pump faked and fumbled, but that's an incomplete pass. It was like the tuck rule. Next one, he hits.
The ball landed at his feet.
It landed at his feet. Next one, he hits Debo for 5. Next one, he gets sacked by Armstead. Next one, touchdown to McCaffrey. That was a beautiful throw up the seam.
And he let him. And he hit him in stride.
Let him. It was just perfect. And then Fred Warner got freaking burned by Christian McCaffrey. And I had to laugh because Fred Warner talks so much crap. He didn't have nothing to say after that one. Then there was a fight.
I'll go all day. I can go all day. Did you hear him say
but you can't cover McCaffrey. That was after. It's like, now you want to talk, Fred. Right. All right, back to so then he threw the one hopper to Kittle. Then he threw the pick. Then he came back and got the
pick was the worst throw of the day.
Yep. Then he got the pass interference on Ayuk on the underthrown ball,
which was a bad call, I thought.
So he started. I thought so. So he started off slow. Then it was the move the ball period, and 2nd and 7 he hits Mitchell for 2. 3rd and 5 he hits Debo on the crosser for 10. That was nice, kind of like Lance's throw.
Yeah.
Then he hit 1st and 10. He hits McCaffrey for 3. 3rd and 6 he gets sacked. I want to say that one was confusing. He did hit McCaffrey, but they also called a sack and he went off the field. So I don't know what they called there.
Next one he hit was a sack, to be honest.
I thought it was a sack. Then on 1st and 10 he hit Latu for 3. Then on 3rd and 7 he hit Debo on the out for 10. That was nice.
Now that might have been the best play because didn't he have to create? Nice. Didn't he? Wasn't that where he kind of had to change his? Yeah,
Gibson blitzed,
and
he was going to get lit up if it was a real play. Yeah,
but he reacted to it, moved up, and then put it on his hands. That was
and that was the nice. And that was his last throw.
Didn't he change his arm angle on that one too?
I believe so. That was his nicest throw. He did it on a hot streak. So all credit to him. That's what he did. That was his day. That last throw was good. Faithful to the Bay says pads are on. Oh, his last one was the fumble though. That wasn't his. Well, it would mean
so last one. Well, here's my biggest question, and we never really got an answer. Did he get hurt on that play? He never threw another pass.
They never said. God forbid.
If he's not out there tomorrow, that's going to be a bad thing.
And they wouldn't tell us. They would never tell. It'd be the biggest secret ever. But I'd like to know. I mean, that's exactly how.
Sidelines.
Like if you guys weren't there, but essentially what Clelin Ferrell did was reach up and try to slap the ball out of Purdy's hands as he was throwing. Like that's exactly how he tore his UCL. Very scary.
Yeah.
Very scary. It also dude, Cleveland, you've been in the NFL for 4 or 5 years. What are you thinking, man? This ain't new. What are you doing? It's a season.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, what did I just see?
I've never seen that.
And then Brock
I've never seen that.
And there was, I would say, 4 minutes and change or 4 minutes or 5 minutes left in the period. And Brock didn't throw another pass.
You know what I just realized?
That's what bothered me.
You know what bothered me? I just realized I forgot to put on sunscreen today. I'm like, why am I so burning right now? Oh, damn it.
There you go.
Rookie move.
But you had the hat going.
Yeah, but I need the real vets use the safari hat. I used to. Pads are on. How's the O-line looking? What do you think Colton Kivitz today?
I thought he looked really good in the one-on-ones. But as far as the team portion.
Who did he face? Kerry Hyder and Drake Jackson? Yeah.
Yeah. One time Drake Jackson. One time was it Bryant maybe? I thought he had a rep against Bryant. I thought he looked pretty good in the one-on-ones. You know, I got to see more, but to me, he hasn't stood out negative or positive. He hasn't, but I thought he looked good in the one-on-ones. There were some guys who struggled in the one-on-ones. I thought Leroy Watson, Jalen Moore.
He got
Those
beat by
guys-
Javon Kinlaw.
Jalen Moore and Leroy Watson got just whiffed in the one-on-ones a couple times.
I think some people disagree with me, but I actually thought Burford held his own against Armstead both times. Some people thought I thought he stalemated him at least. I was impressed by Burford in the one-on-ones. Maybe I saw that incorrectly. I don't know.
Burford has got great strength at the point.
Yeah.
You can't bull rush him. You can't bully him inside.
I thought he did a good job. Drew says, how's the kicker competition? I'm not watching it. Zane Gonzalez should be on the team.
Zane Gonzalez had a 57-yarder. Zane Gonzalez, if he keeps kicking it the way he kicked it today, the Niners will be able to get a pick for him at the cutdown.
Woo! Last Second Sports upstairs. What's up, Jesse? Says, what would the narrative be if Trey had 3 awful passes, including a 1 hopper? It's true. Purdy deserves grace, no doubt, but man, Trey taking heat unfairly at times. It does seem like it's easier to criticize Trey. Not that Larry does. Larry's pretty even-handed with his praise, but it seems like it's open season on Trey to criticize him.
Purdy has banked money. It was the 2 playoff wins and the undefeated record off the bench.
That's true.
In December. If Trey had banked those wins, Trey would be getting the same grace. I really
if you have
that.
playoff wins, then all of a sudden people don't care as much about your practice performance. That being said,
you win in January, nobody cares about July.
That being said, the thing I feel like the complicating factor for Brock is the injury. If he had never torn his UCL, then you could be like, yeah, I don't really care what he does in practice. I've seen him in games. But now I do care what he does in practice because it's like Brock 2.0. What does this Brock look like?
And let's also point it out that the first practice where he ripped one to Ayuk and then overthrew Debo, that Brock, those throws were almost unrelated to the throws that we saw down the field today that hung,
right,
and the interception that hung. So it's not
also
like
that was Brock's first day. He was fresh, he was amped up. Like, what's that? How's that arm going to react to the whole training camp? Is he going to get arm fatigue? Things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to keep doing it. I mean,
you got to build endurance.
To me, based on that day, his arm strength is not diminished. If I didn't see that day and I only saw today, I'd be worried about the arm strength.
Right. But there's a reason he's 2 days on, 2 days off, because he can't physically do 3 days on, 1 days off like Lance and Darnold can. So clearly endurance, fatigue are an issue for him right now. And I'm not surprised that we would see it would come out more on day 3 for him than day 1. But I think what is interesting is that we saw it after 2 days off. So it's something to monitor. What's it going to look like tomorrow? What will it look like on day 4 after a day and no rest, and maybe you're a little tired? Very interesting.
The ball that bothered me a lot.
Too.
The ball that bothered me a lot was the deep ball because his receiver had a step on the coverage and had to come back for it.
Yep. And you'd think maybe Lance or Darnold can make that throw. I mean, they have the arm strength for it. I don't know if they have the accuracy. Mike drops with Montes says, Grant, you said before camp, Sam will fool you in camp and he knows he isn't getting hit. What's up with Mason? He's hurting his chances of making the team. That's true. The only thing with Sam is I am starting to feel like any freaking quarterback can play with this. I mean, when you have McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle, like, it's so hard to suck. I think it's really hard. But Mason, yeah, he needs to stop putting the ball on the freaking ground. What is that?
There's too many good running backs here for him to fumble the ball a lot. TDP looked good today.
Damon Dickerson says, every source, including Purdy and his doctor, have said this is not rushed and he's on a normal timeline. Can we please stop saying he's rushing back? I'll say whatever the fuck I want to say, Damon. How about that? Damon, I love you. I don't know where that came from. I don't know whether I got worked up. But I do want to say whatever I want to say. But you can say what you want to say, and I'll say what I want to say.
Well, I mean, let's talk about this for a second. Other guys Damon. Who have had the injury have taken longer, I think is what you're saying. So there is a possibility that he's rushing back, knowing that he has to be in this competition to keep this job, to maintain his status.
Well put.
Other
it's a
people,
possibility.
If this were a different situation, it's possible that he would have given himself a little bit more time. I mean, there's a lot of factors here that everything is not necessarily as it seems at all times. Sometimes there are other factors.
Yeah. Wave 9 says Raiders not a good D, but we still went to OT last year. Yeah, because of their offense. Let Trey earn the effing job like Brock did. Well, I'm curious to see what the team does if he keeps doing what he did today. Because Lynch was the one who said, if you'd make the most of your opportunities, we reward you. Okay, well, let's see if Trey's stacked stacks those days. David Baker says, how much does the defense make the offense better?
I think the defense makes the offense look quite a bit better. Why? Because the windows are smaller, and it's just like anything else. It's kind of like if you ever coached like Little League. If you have them hit those tiny little whiffles before the game, then all of a sudden they hit better in the game. The windows for Niner practice, the practice windows that the defense is giving the offense because of the Niner talent on defense are smaller than what they'll face against the Raiders. So I think it makes you better.
29er says, any thoughts on the Golson signing? I just saw that they signed Deshaun Golson to the coaching staff. That's cool.
I love it. I mean, you kidding me? The Hawk was an intimidator. He was a really smart player, really physical player. It's only good things for Jair Brown, in my opinion.
Just waiting for Dante Johnson to be signed back, says Bang Bang 415.
That ain't happening.
Leave Dante alone.
Yeah. And everybody's talking about Dante, but the Niners' depth on the corner with the other guy who looks awesome right now is Womack. Womack and Jameson have given the Niners some depth on the corner that they have not had in a long time. Brother Bob.
Yeah. Brother Bob says, I'm late. Has Kevin's dad been honest? I love that. That's funny. Mike Drops with Monza says, Cleveland hitting Brock was the ultimate catch-22. He's an idiot, and hopefully Brock is good, but that would give him confidence if he didn't get hurt. Sure. That's one way to look at it for sure. It's just so scary, man. He's been working so hard to come back from this injury, and Cleveland freaking Farrell is going to just ruin everything potentially. Like, thanks, Cleveland. Thank you so much.
He's getting chewed by somebody. Somebody's chewing Cleveland.
Dude, some coaches would have kicked him out of practice. Some coaches would have kicked him off the team. I can't believe that actually happened. And Kyle's like, Jim Harbaugh would have freaked out. He would have freaked out. He might have fought Cleveland Farrell himself. Seriously.
That's hard.
Ariel Alberto says Purdy did this versus first team best defense. Trey did it versus second team. Jimmy threw 1,000 picks with this defense. LOL. True. Absolutely. That is good context to remember.
But there's no
Bosa out there.
I'm not even buying first team, second team as far as you have to make the throws.
Yeah.
And the throws that Trey's making, it's not like he's, oh man, if you would just put the first team out there, he ain't making that throw. It's about the correct read, the correct timing, and the correct and a good accurate throw. And he's making, let's not critique Trey to the point where, hey man, that's not the ones. It doesn't matter. No, it does.
Let's go through Trey's day. So Trey hits Danny Gray on a dig. He beats Sam Womack. That's not you don't just look at that matchup pre-snap and be like, oh yeah, Danny Gray's winning this. That's a beautiful throw. That's the first throw he had for the day. What else did he do? Let's see. He hit Troy Fumagalli for a 6-yard gain on a check down. He hit Ray McLeod on a screen. I mean, nothing super sexy, but that's what people say he can't do.
He's got to live in the intermediate, and that's where he's living right now.
He missed Mason, who never turned to find him. He hit Chris Conley for 15 on 3rd and 10 on a deep out.
That was an impressive throw. That was a very impressive throw.
Okay, what else we got? He hit Ronald Awatt on a check down. He hit Ayuk on the shallow cross for 10. That was not his last throw. Then he had to move the ball, period. Then he goes Ray for 6 on a shallow cross. 3rd and 7, he hits Ray again. Remember the one to Ray on the slant?
That was the best.
Over the middle?
That was his best throw. That Ray went parallel to the ground, and that thing was a bullet.
And when Lance misses those ones over the middle, he misses high and they're picked. These ones were low today. I liked that. Then he went on. He took the sack. Next throw, he hits Tay Martin on the deep out for 12 on 3rd and 13. Some nice throws today.
Yeah. The Ray one I thought was terrific.
Yeah, I agree. Kyle Shannon says, if I give you a hug and a kiss, will you like me, Grant? Just tell me you love me. Only if you give. Yeah. Oh, but you got to kiss me too.
Kyle's in here. Hey, Kyle.
Kyle, thank you very much. Brother Bob says, haha, Iggy, I love your sarcasm about peeps being even. Thank you, Brother Bob. Mike Monahan says, Kevin and Grant's dad should start a podcast. we got to do like a round table.
We'd have every demographic covered.
Lowell would call out LK's objectivity. I don't think so. I can handle it. No, there isn't. Laughing my ass off. Sorry, Damon. I was being a jerk. You're a nice guy. Cass says, I'm curious as to how many Niner fans would be willing to put their bias to the side if Trey wins the QB1 spot, including some of these media members. Good question.
I think this is the
lot of them
most
would.
bogus conversation, is that there's this whole pushback against Trey. I don't see that in the media.
I don't see that from you, but it exists. I'm not going to say anyone by name, but it's not Larry.
To me, I want to.
It exists.
I want to see it. I just want to see it. I don't want anybody to be handed anything. I don't want to see Brock handed anything. I don't want to see Trey handed anything. But I think a lot of this, nobody wants Trey to succeed, is a bunch of garbage.
I can think of one guy.
One media guy?
Name, okay. I can think of the one guy. Wave 9 says, Larry, please give us Trent Baalke on Bosa's contract.
The deal's not done, Grant, and it's not going to be done until it's done, okay? And this guy hasn't torn an ACL, but I'll tell you, I like Nick Bosa, but he'll be here when he's here, and not before and not after.
Call him a football player.
At the end of the day, Grant, Lowry, I'll tell you again, Lowry and Grant, Nick Bosa's just a flat-out football player.
There it is. Thank you very much, Trent Baalke. You really explained that one very well. I got to get out of here. This was a good show. Thank you, Larry. I started a little early, but you
sorry,
right
I had to pick up my car from the shop. Otherwise, I would have been in here earlier.
All right.
Wednesday over at my place, maybe?
Wednesday over at your place. I'll be on Larry's channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hold on. Niners rule. All I want to know is, how do the lines look? Like 1v1 since the pads are on. Also, how do the running backs look with pads on?
TDP looks good. The running backs look faster. Collectively, I would say faster than all these guys. Mason, TDP, McCaffrey all look faster than last year. The running back core is deep, very deep.
I can name 5 content creators that do, Larry. I think Larry was talking about credentialed media members. Content creators is different. Stop, Iggy. Please stop your sarcasm. Picking a pickle. What are you talking about? All right, the show's over. Thanks for watching. I love all of you equally. You're my children. Take care.